G'day guys, Holy Critic back with you again. And today I wanted to talk about nostalgia. Yes, the days of old, the good old days, when things were better, much more simple, more exciting, more free, right? Nostalgia is something that blinds us to the realities of the past and the realities which we blanked out of our minds. The negativities, the bad times, we blank it out and we only remember the good parts in our little movie in our mind. And when it comes to video rental stores, you get a lot of people, including myself, who vehemently defend the old format of getting in the car with your family or your mates and driving on down to the local video store, like Blockbuster, which was the one in my area. I had a few others, but that was the biggest one. And you could browse thousands of different movies, and you could have a banter between you and your buddies, and you could say, why don't we watch this movie tonight? And it was a fun experience for everyone. But I read an article just today which opened my eyes to the real truth, which is that Blockbuster was never really that great, to be honest. And my rose-tinted glasses had given me a perspective that now we're in a worse time because we have all these subscription services like Netflix and Amazon Prime, and they all have their own licensed thing, their own licensed programming, which means that if you want to watch a specific movie, often you've got to sign up for 2 or more subscriptions, and the costs tend to rack up over time. And people point to places like Blockbuster and say, well, in those days, you could just pick up 4 or 5 movies, the ones that you wanted, and you could pick them up for, $10, and you could rent them for 3 days and just be over with it. But now you've got to sign up for a whole, almost like sign a contract for life just to watch the movie you want. But the writer of this article, Jason Bailey, presents a very good counter-argument to that defense of the old format, the old bricks and mortar video stores. And he's pretty harsh in his critique, but he makes some very interesting points. And I'll start with this one here. He writes, Blockbuster was never in the business of selling movies. Now remember, this guy actually worked for Blockbuster for years, so he has intimate insider knowledge. What Blockbuster was selling was product. And in terms of acquisition and presentation, it didn't even matter what the product was. The job of the store was not to curate art or even be particularly well versed in it. Its job was to move the inventory stocked. And what that stock was? Right there in the name. Blockbusters. Nothing niche, nothing independent, only the blockbuster movies from the big studios, the big Hollywood studios. And anything that wasn't new was through. So, did you really ever have a big catalogue at these stores where they claim you had 10,000 movie titles? But they were only from companies like Universal and Warner Brothers and MGM and Paramount, all the big ones, but you never got access to the rarer type TV movie content and the TV series. Blockbuster achieved domination by muscling into new markets and putting locally owned mum and pup shops out of business with its deep pockets and seemingly limitless resources. And what does he mean by that? Well, they had agreements with distribution partners which allowed them to lease copies of the hottest new releases, right? And pay the provider per transaction. Whereas smaller video rental stores had to purchase those tapes outright, often upwards of $100 per copy VHS, I imagine, at the time. So they were pricing all their competition out of the market. So in a way, Blockbuster became the architect of their own downfall because they killed competition and they had a poor catalog of movies, and people eventually turned to the internet once the speeds increased and people could have much more bandwidth to be able to download and stream HD quality movies, which was something that Blockbuster, if you look at their history, made the mistake of completely ignoring. They could have bought out Netflix, but they decided that wasn't the future and they became extinct because of it. And he goes on to also write that Blockbuster's market domination had been established. Once it had been established, the chain never missed an opportunity to flex its muscles. And namely, it had a policy where anything R-rated and beyond was restricted. So they actually influenced the movie industry because independent people who wanted to make movies with graphic sexual content and violence couldn't market their rentals to Blockbuster. They only allowed the PG, parental guidance, general audience type content, vanilla content. And it severely limited what you could actually get. And of course, at the time, before I could explore all these different varieties of movies, I thought that was all there was, which was whatever was at the local video store. But he presents a very good argument here that you never really got much of a range anyway. And in fact, today, you can do the things like go to YouTube and watch even the movies I upload, which you could have never have seen at Blockbuster back in the day. Right now, I offer movies which nobody else does for free. So to sum up my point, and what I'm trying to get at before I waffle on for too much longer, nostalgia blinds us to the fact that there never really was a good time to live. It's all a figment of our carefully edited imagination. Thanks yet again, guys, for watching another one of my rants, and I hope you had found it at least illuminating in a way. Whether you agree or disagree, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Was Blockbuster a monopolizing, price gouging, lowest common denominator, catering gutter trash, as this article suggests? You tell me. And this is Holy Critic, signing out.